So the weather's finally hit 60 degrees here in Maryland, and I'm so happy about it that I pulled all of my spring and summer yarns out from under my bed. And today I wanted to go through kind of my spring and summer stash with you all and share the knits that I'd love to be making this spring and summer if I only had the time. I don't think I'll get to all these patterns this year, but you know, one can dream and one can plan for them. And I do have a couple that I'll share that I am fully intending to start pretty soon. But other than that, this is just dream knitting and kind of stash exposure and facing the fact that I need to work from my stash in the coming year or three, especially because yarn prices are probably about to go up. It's a good time to just reflect on my stash and realize that I have plenty I can make at home. And this is my cat Boo. This is Bitter Kitten Crafts. I'm Haley, and let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started with all the yarn that's surrounding me right now, I just want to show what I'm wearing quickly. This is the Daily Pullover by Paula Pereira, and it's knit in junk yarn, and this is a Pearl Soho pattern. It's like a very simple V-neck raglan fingering weight pattern. I highly recommend it. I've knit a few, like a long sleeve version and this short sleeve version, and I just really like this sweater. And it's knit in junk yarn, and it is like the Barbie premiere 2 summers ago. I knit this to wear to the Barbie premiere, so it's a Barbie colorway from junk yarn, like maybe Malibu Barbie or Space Barbie or something like that, Space Cadet Barbie, I can't remember. But it's a Barbie colorway, and then I only had 2 skeins, and I was cutting it like really close, so I brought in this green from my stash, and this is called Grasshopper. It's from Muse 2320, and it really, I thought, was like the perfect accent color, and then also it gave me like 2 or 3 more inches of body length so that I didn't have to worry about knitting the ribbing in the Barbie colorway. And I really like this sweater. I'll definitely probably be knitting a couple more. I wanted a striped one, but that's not for this video. Let's go ahead and jump in with the yarn. I had shown, if you watch my Make 9 video, I'm planning to knit a Ranunculus this year, so I'm just going to go ahead and briefly talk about that quickly again. I thrifted this yarn. It's called Saucy Sport, and it's just 100% cotton, and there's probably visible cat hair on it, but what can you do? And it is, I have 4 little skeins, which is like about 600 yards. And this should be perfect, like very, very closely cutting it on a short-sleeved Ranunculus in size 6, I think I'm planning to make. And I will knit it on the size 10 needle. I really like this color. I think it's so happy. I'm not much of like a blue girl. Usually I knit in like greens and purples. So this will be a fun, like very different piece for my wardrobe, which I think will be good. If you live under a rock and you haven't seen the Ranunculus pattern, which I think everybody watching this video has seen it, but I'll still put a picture. It's just like a little lace t-shirt, pretty open gauge, like size 10 needles, and pretty easy pattern. People knit like 5 to 7 of them. I've knit 2 before. I've knit 1 in like a much thicker yarn. So more of a yarn that matches a size 10 needle. It's not a very open gauge. It's like Lion Brand alpaca chainette or something. And then I've knit 1 as a present. But this will be my first springtime one for myself. And this yarn is so fun. It's sadly discontinued, but it's actually very soft cotton. So I think it's a good pairing for this sweater. The second project I'm pretty confident that I'm going to get to this spring is the My Little Secret crop top by Jessie Maed. And the yarn I'm planning to use is this Caron Blossom Cake. This is a yarn that's like pretty easily accessible, and it's like, this was like $12 I think before coupons. It is a 50-50 or maybe 60-40, yeah, 60-40 cotton and acrylic blend. And it's basically like an acrylic tube, and then the cotton is like blown into the tube. And it's very fun to work with this kind of yarn. I've used the Joann's version of this yarn, which was like the K&C kind of cotton acrylic blend, and made 2 My Little Secret crop tops before. And I really like that they're machine washable, and I can wear them in like the humidity of the DC summer where it can be like 100 degrees or like 1,000,000% humidity. And they're just machine washable. And I've had my couple that I've had for like 3 summers now, and they're really not any worse for the wear, so I figured I'd go for a third. And this colorway is really quite beautiful. I'm thinking that according to, let me see, I don't know how well this will show up. There's like this little photo and it looks like it's going to sort of self-stripe kind of. And I think it'll just be like a quick, easy little project in between some of my bigger projects that I can just cast on. In the past, I've knit size large of this project, and I think I'll probably just copy my exact information from the Ravelry page of my previous My Little Secret tank tops. But I really honestly don't have much to say about this one. Other than that, I think it'll go quickly. So if you're familiar, you know that Caron has like a bunch of these kind of cakes. I've used a couple of them for like granny square projects before, like crochet projects, and I really enjoy every kind of cake that I've worked with. I've really enjoyed. Last summer I made a ripple bralette with the Caron macchiato cakes, which is like a cotton, but it has little like doodads hanging off the yarn, and it's really fun. So I definitely recommend, like, if you want to knit something for spring and you're just kind of like, oh, like, I don't know, I don't want to spend a lot, or I don't want to like stress a lot. Like, this is definitely, I mean, that's pretty. This is definitely a good way to go if you want just a quick spring knit. So those two projects, I'm really confident I'm going to get to this spring. I'm hoping to start my Ranunculus like maybe even like this week. But I also have a lot of spring and summer plant fiber yarn that I'm not as confident I'm going to get to this year. And that's okay. You know, it's nice to have like a backup supply of yarn, but it's also something I'm definitely guilty of when I run into a good plant fiber yarn at RIP Joann's or at Michael's. I'm definitely guilty of buying it because sometimes it's kind of hard to find garment yarn at those places. And when I find something good, I usually just use my coupons in the app and just like go ahead and buy it. And that's led to me having kind of a big stash of like budget friendly plant fiber yarn. I have a couple more that are hand dyed or like more special, but I really have a weakness for like summer plant fiber yarns from big box stores, just because they're accessible and cheaper and usually machine washable, which is a real plus for me. But anyways, I'm kind of rambling, so let's go ahead and start looking at all the yarn. The first yarn that I've picked a pattern for from my stash is Lion Brand Touch of Linen. And this is, a worsted weight linen and cotton blend, and this is the natural colorway. It's 197 yards for 100 grams, and it's very nice to knit with. I've knit 2 projects with this before. Both of them are like little summer t-shirts, and I do want to just preface with this yarn shrinks in the dryer, kind of. It shrinks like lengthwise in the dryer, but it doesn't shrink like horizontally. I don't know, it's kind of weird. It shrinks significantly. Your row gauge will shrink a lot. So that's something to kind of be cognizant of if you do buy this yarn. This yarn is still available in a bunch of really beautiful kind of terracotta colorways, like natural looking colorways. I've used the purple and the orange, and then I still have this natural in my stash. And the pattern that I plan to make is the Kuutar tank by Sari Nordlund. I'll put a photo here. It's a really beautiful like lace high-necked tank top, and I have pretty much just enough yardage with these 3 skeins to knit it. I'm a really big fan of how lace looks in cotton yarn. I think it looks really like crispy and nice, and the stitch definition of this yarn is stunning. So I think this will be a great choice for that tank top. This is also, you can buy this yarn in like packs of 3 off the Lion Brand website, and if you do it on a day they're having a sale, I think this was like less than $15. So again, like a great budget choice. I got this one at Joann, but now that that's no longer an option, you can still get this off the Lion Brand site, and it's a very affordable yarn, so I really highly recommend it. And the natural color doesn't do a lot for my skin, but I think it'll be still a nice spring piece. Another spring budget knit in my stash is K&C, oh here, let me show one without the sticker. K&C Bliss yarn, and this is from Joann multiple years ago when I used to work there, so I don't know if this is still an accessible yarn given their closing, but it is also a cotton and acrylic blend, so it's 53% cotton, 34% acrylic, and 13% polyamide nylon. And if you look at the sticker on this one, this was definitely a budget knit because these were $2.50 each. So I have, I think 5, yeah, So I have 5 skeins of this, and it's enough to knit the Ripple Crop Top by Jessie Maed. This is actually a fingering weight, probably like a heavy fingering weight sport yarn, because there's 200 yards for 50 grams. So it is like a pretty lightweight yarn. I think it's going to make a stunning t-shirt, and it will also be machine washable, kind of just like the past couple that I've shown, which I'm like a sweaty lady, and this is a really hot place where I live, so that is a definite plus. I highly recommend checking out the clearance section of like your Michaels, your, I guess now maybe not Joann. I have found some great summer yarns there. This total of this project will cost like less than 10 bucks. Pretty awesome. You can't beat it. And it is like a striping yarn. So I don't know if you can kind of tell. It goes from like a white to then like a pinkish, like a very blush pink, and then back to a white. I looked it up on Ravelry, and it is striping. So that's kind of pretty. Very springy, very cherry blossomy. I also have a couple balls of this yarn that are more dark colored, like pink to blue. And so if I end up running out of this for my shirt, then I'll probably use these for the sleeves, but this one's much darker, like purple to like magenta color. So I don't know what I'll knit with these two. I have 2 of a different color, but I just scooped them all up because they were $2.50. I think the Ripple Crop Top by Jessie Maed is a great choice for this yarn because the drape will be amazing, and that project is knit on pretty loose gauge for fingering weight yarn. So I think it's good to knit it in like a cotton, because otherwise if you knit cotton on a tight gauge, it like sags a lot. And this way, this shirt will hold its shape. So I'm trying to show the color fading, but I really don't know how well you can see it on camera. It's like looking white, but it actually is pink. I promise. I have one singular crochet project on this list, and it is going to be made with this Knitting for Olive pure silk yarn. And I don't know if this is the best way to show this. These are little balls, but it's Knitting for Olive 100% silk, and I have 3 different colors. And then the reason that I have this yarn is because I was given this yarn, which is kind of looking sad. The label's really faded, but this is BC Garn Tussa Silk Tweed, and it is the color of like a couch in the 70s, which I kind of love, but it's a little close to my skin. So I found these Knitting for Olive colors to kind of mitigate that. This is going to be a granny square tank top. So I'll put a picture of like what I envision over here somewhere, but what I envision is like 2 squares like for the front, and then little straps, and then a second row of squares around the bottom. And with these 4 colors, I think that I'll be able to mitigate like the skin tone color of this one. I started knitting a tank top with this because I have 2 balls of it, and it was just like really like a naked color. So not the best choice for me, but with these together, I think it'll be a kind of like cool 70s kind of look. And I really, I'm excited to own this in my wardrobe, but I think it will take longer than I think it will. This is also something where I've seen a lot of people on like YouTube and Instagram use this yarn, and it's stunning, but it doesn't seem easy to work with because it's incredibly, incredibly thin and fine. Just really, really thin yarn. So that's why I'm thinking a granny square project might be best. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to hold them double for that. In this project, so these yarns are each like $14, $13.50. So I got 3 of them. So this is around like a $40 project for me, which is like on the more expensive end of all of this stuff that I'm going to show. And if I hadn't been gifted this yarn, I probably would not have initiated this project, but I think it'll be really cool and groovy. This next project is definitely on like the higher end in terms of price wise. It's also a discontinued yarn, so I don't really know what to say about that, but this is Magpie Fibers Solstice yarn, which is a blend of cotton and silk and wool. It's like 40% wool and then a mixture of cotton and silk. You can kind of see the silk like nips on the yarn. And I have 3 balls of this yarn. So I have 1 ball of purple, and then I have 1 project that I knit in this yarn that I like don't want. So I'm going to frog. And this is this is the Whitethorn Cowl by Pip and Pin. And it's very stunning yarn. So I want to knit it into like a garment that I'll actually wear rather than this kind of random little project I made. And then I have one ball of pink somewhere in my house that I cannot find. So I'm planning to knit stripes with it, and I'm planning to knit the ribbed turtle tank, which is by Jessie Maed. It's called, yeah, Ribbed Turtleneck Tank by Jessie Maed. And it's just like a sleeveless tank top with a high turtleneck that's ribbed, and I really enjoy a lot of her ribbed patterns. I've knit the big rib a couple times, the long sleeve sweater, and I've knit the ripple crop top and the ripple bralette. So all of her ribbed patterns, like, I really enjoy the fit of, and I think this will be a good addition to my wardrobe. And because it's a wool, I think you can see like the little silky bits, but because it's a wool, I think it will be more of a fall piece. I'm hoping that the striped color, like these colors look really nice together. So I'm hoping the pink won't add like too much to the party and they'll still look nice. The really nice thing about this yarn is that this is only one skein, so it's a pretty generous yardage of like 300 yards, even though it's a DK weight yarn. And I can knit it at even a looser gauge than this, probably a lot looser gauge than this, and get a beautiful, beautiful garment out of it. And I really am excited for that. I think this is such a beautiful yarn. And the silk neps really add a lot to it. I think you can see them, but it's like so hard to tell in the camera. Another yarn that I thrifted is this. So this is, oh, can you see it? It's Twinkle Hand Knits Cruise. And it's this fun, like tiny little balls of yarn, and they are silk. So they're 70% silk, 30% cotton, and this is 120 yards for 50 grams. So I have 5 of these. So I have like about 600 yards. And so I was kind of searching for patterns that I could use with this amount of yarn, and I wasn't running into something that I really loved. But I decided that I could maybe try the Magnolia Bloom, which is a pattern by Camilla Vaude, but it's knit at a very dense gauge on like size 10 needles. It's like a winter sweater with mohair. And I was thinking it would be cool to try to knit this, which is like at best a DK weight. I was thinking it'd be cool to try to knit this at like a size 10 gauge and see just kind of like how it looks, how it goes. This is a color that I constantly find myself drawn to, like both in nail polish and in yarn, this like mauve, magenta, raspberry kind of color. And I really like the one ranunculus I made, it is already this color, so I really was trying to avoid making another ranunculus in basically the same color. But if that's what it comes to, like maybe I'll gift it. I don't know like how the baubles, there's baubles on that project, and I don't know how they would look like at a loose gauge, but that's something that I'm hoping to sort of, I guess, like test out and kind of report back to y'all and see how it goes. This is like a project I might not get to the yarn for some time. And by the time I actually get to knitting with this yarn, I may have found a different and better fit for it. But it is a really adorable little yarn, and they're so tiny and cute. I don't know why someone would donate this, to be honest. It's so cute. I also have this Ritual Dyes Undine. So I have 2 skeins of this, and it was in the clearance bin at my local yarn store, Looped. And I really have been sitting on this for some time. Some time. It's a linen and cotton blend. It's like 60-40 cotton and linen. And I've seen multiple people on YouTube have to frog this yarn. Like multiple people. Kind of struggle to knit with it. I think the gauge might be weird. It's like 382 yards for 100 grams. So it's like kind of a weird weight, and the color is not the best for my skin. So I really have been sitting on this like probably since 2022. And I'm just not really like, I don't love this color. I'm thinking about if I'm going to over dye any of this yarn, it would definitely be this. This yarn comes in some really pretty like greens that are just way more like flattering on my skin, I think. But I did pick a pattern for this yarn, which is the Ripple Crop Top Worsted by Jessie Maed, but just at a really, really loose gauge, because that's what I've seen people find success with this yarn, where if they try to knit it at like a fingering or sport weight gauge, it just like doesn't work for them. I've the reason this was in the clearance at the time is because people struggled to knit with it. So if you've used this yarn, please let me know below like what you made and if it worked. Otherwise, I'm planning to knit it at a significantly looser gauge than it calls for, just so that I feel confident I won't like ruin it in some way. So I do have plans to knit, if you are keeping track, the ripple crop top in that Joann yarn, and then also the ripple crop top worsted. And yes, they are like sort of similar colors, so maybe just ignore that. This yarn, like I said, if you have any suggestions for this, I know Jessie Maed has designed several other patterns in this yarn, but I don't have enough yardage and I don't want to buy more because I don't know if it will like work or be good, but this is enough to knit a t-shirt. So I'll just use what I have. Maybe I'll dye it green or blue. That could be really pretty. This is probably the oldest yarn in this whole pile. This is Elsebeth, I always say this wrong, Elsebeth Lavold Hempathy. So it's a hemp cotton blend, and it's a really stunning color. I have 4 of these little balls. This is like a purplish brown color. It's gorgeous, and I've never used this type of yarn before. I've never knitted with hemp before, but it seems like people have knitted some really stunning stuff with this on Ravelry. I love this color. This color is definitely way better for my complexion than the previous. And it's just like, you can kind of see the shine that it has. It's such stunning yarn. It's pretty affordable. I got it on sale, but it's $8.99 a ball, and they do still make this yarn. I saw it online. I almost ordered more just to kind of make more yardage for what I have, but I'm worried about dye lots because this is old. And then I also just didn't want to spend more money. But the pattern that I picked for this is Look at My Holes by James N. Watts. So probably a lot of you guys are also familiar with that pattern. And it's like a very loose mesh knit lace shirt, like a short sleeve shirt. It's a raglan, but it has very big lace holes. And so with that in mind, I do actually have enough with having, with having 4 skeins. So I have like about 600 yards of this. And I think it'd be really just stunning to knit it in this dark color and then be able to wear like a lighter color tank top underneath or something like that, with like linen pants. And this is one that I'm like really eager to get to because I've seen some people with that pattern in their wardrobe, and it's so fun to style, so fun to knit. It seems like people have made more than one, and I think it's really like a flattering pattern. So this is one that I'm like really eager to get to. We're kind of winding down with my yarns. I have 4 or 5 more left to show you, and one of them is, this is Terrapin Fiberworks Boucle Cotton, and it's called Monocacy Fingering Base. This is a yarn that I got at, I think, probably either like the Maryland Alpaca Festival or Maryland Sheep and Wool. I got it in person at a festival, so it's an OOAK one-of-a-kind color, and I have 2 balls of it. I actually did start crocheting something with this, but then I realized that I didn't want it to be at a dense gauge. Even though it is a fingering weight, it knits, or it crocheted up as like more of a worsted weight, and the variations in the colors in this are so stunning. It's kind of very tonal, which I think is so pretty. I've never worked with hand-dyed cotton like this before. I think it's so pretty, like the variation, and I decided, like I mentioned, I really didn't want it to be at a tight gauge. It really like lets the boucle aspect of it kind of shine if you knit it looser. At the time when I frogged this, I had ended up picking 2 different patterns, and I, for some reason, like never started knitting either of them, because I decided that this, like the boucle looks better in a knit stitch, and the crochet, like the triple crochet I was using, kind of disguised like the boucle aspect of it. And I picked the Burgos pattern by Rosa Pumar, so I'll put a photo here. And I also have in my library already the Heya tank by Kiyomi Burgin, which either one of those could be a great choice. The Heya tank is interesting because it's like a pretty simple like V-neck tank top, but it is seamed. So I'd have to knit 2 flat panels, which like, I don't know if I love that, but it might be worth it because the cotton is heavy and will sag. Having a seam on the side will provide a lot more structure, so that way that's like much less of an issue. So that's something I'm definitely keeping into consideration, just because I want this project to sustain itself in my wardrobe, and I don't want it to just like slowly sag until it looks like a shapeless blob, which is a concern with cotton. I think that knitting this at a loose gauge will definitely help, but if you are familiar, or if you're unfamiliar with Terrapin Fiberworks, they have the most gorgeous, they only do plant-based yarn, and they have some really stunning hand-dyed, only plant-based yarn, like a Tencel blend that I'm really interested in, and some other just really gorgeous plant-based yarns, and they're all hand-dyed, and they're local to me in Maryland, so this is definitely a brand that I am excited to get more yarn from, kind of when I winnow down this plant-based stash. They have, yeah, the Tencel yarn they have looks really interesting. I only have a couple left, and this is my last budget yarn. So this is Patton's Linen, and I also found this at Joann's, probably over last spring though. I didn't get this, like, it was before they were closing, so I don't know if this is still accessible through Joann, but it's definitely still accessible on the Patton's website. And it is a cotton and linen blend again, and it's pretty much, honestly, structurally identical to this yarn. It is 275 yards per 100 grams instead of 382, but other than that, like, it's very much indistinguishable, which is kind of interesting. I really love this color. This is called Sweet Potato, this color, and it's, I think, again, a better choice for my skin than maybe that light purple. And this is, I have 3 skeins of this, so this is reserved for a pattern that I've wanted in my wardrobe for so long. It is the Twist Loops top by Other Loops, and in the summertime, I wear a lot of, like, there's these Free People tank tops that are just like regular kind of ribbed tank tops, like no design or anything, and I wear them a lot in the summer. I have like 10 different colors of it, and I'm hoping that the Twist Loop top will sort of be a knitted version of that in my wardrobe. But this yarn is like, it was like 10 or something dollars a ball, so this project will be like around like $30-$40, which, like, not the cheapest thing, but also compared to this one being 30, pretty good deal. And looking at it now, I think it's really interesting to kind of examine like the differences between these 3 linen cotton blends. This one being the cheapest, because these are like $8. This one being like slightly more expensive. I think they're like 10 or 12. And then this one being $30. With the naked eye, I mean, you really can't tell like a difference between these 3 yarns, other than the obvious one, which is like this one's thinner, this one's in the middle, and this one's the thickest. This one's significantly thicker than this one. But other than that, I mean, they all feel the same. They have that kind of like tooth of linen. I would actually say these are softer than this one, but maybe that's just because of how they're skeined up. Ultimately, I think in the future, I would definitely probably go for these 2 before going for this one again. Like I mentioned, I've seen a lot of people struggle to knit with this, but I haven't looked at the Ravelry projects on this yarn. There's a lot of stunning projects with this yarn. A lot of baby knits, a lot of garments. I would definitely go for this one again. So that is all of the spring and summer yarns I have in my stash, except one. And that one is this Mocha cotton gradient skein that I have. I was given this by a friend of my knitting group, and it looks like this. It's stunning. And the way that it works is that each sort of strand is held together, but they're not plied. So there's like 4 or 5 strands, and slowly each strand kind of migrates from like all one color, and then one strand will change, and then 2 strands will change, and then slowly it becomes like fully blue, which I think is a really fascinating way to have a gradient go, because it really blends the colors super seamlessly, where each thread is individual. But I have no idea what to knit with this because I have 1,000 yards of it. So please comment below and let me know if you have any ideas of what I can make with this. I can probably make a full t-shirt or something out of it, but I just don't know how to best plan for the gradient. Like, should I start with the red? Should I start with the black? I don't know. So please let me know if you have any suggestions. And thanks so much for watching.